Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Journey to Greatness, day 173 of 365 with David McDonald, the GOAT. Happy Saturday. It's early, man. It's early. We're almost at 6 months. People always ask me, so what kind of marijuana are you smoking? I'm like, I don't do drugs, actually. I just have a drive. And it's very strong. Good morning, Liz. Good morning. All right. Make sure I get my times right here. All right. Let me see. 59. All right. All right. I'll see you guys on the other side. Right after I get a cough drop. So soothing. Ooh. A little chilly this morning. All right, my friends, welcome back. So we're going to get into our reading routine here. Tim Grover, Relentless is the book currently in hand. I will see you guys on the other side. Hmm. Hmm. Mhm. Hmm. Hmm. I like that. I like that a lot. So I like that. I like that. I like that. All righty, everybody. Welcome back. Um, we have, hey, Brandon, good morning. We're getting into our journaling routine here. And uh, we just finished our reading routine. So in our journaling routine, what I like to do is, if you're joining us for the first time, I like to write about what I'm most grateful for. And in the morning, I'm just grateful to be awake and to have exceptional health and be in exceptional health. I was drinking my glass of water here, and I had a moment of appreciation. Um, I'm thankful that I have clean water I can drink every single day at any point in time. So that's something that I was really exceptionally grateful for this morning. So in the journaling routine. It's a good way to kind of release the thoughts and ideas out of your mind, and really get everything down on paper. What I usually like to do is reflect back to yesterday's activities and successes and challenges I may have experienced, write those down. And for all my challenges, I write what the alternative experience I wish for it to be. And then I just show my gratitude and thankfulness for all the great opportunities and things I was able to learn. And then, going forward, projecting into the future for today, whatever I wish to manifest for myself today, and or next week, so on and so forth. Then I go ahead and write that down. So it's a good way to reconstruct your plan on a daily basis. So if you're doing something that you're like, well, that's not going to get me to my goal, it's a good way to check in with yourself and take yourself to that next level, or challenge yourself to that next level. So with that being said, I'll see you guys on the other side. I think my computer's about to die. All right, my friends, welcome back. Good morning. It's a little live now. Good morning. Miss Miner, good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Okay. We're about to go in here for like 2 minutes. 1 second. Okay. So, in our book, we're Tim is talking about getting into the zone, and I personally like the zone. I like the way he put words to thought here because this is the thing. The reason why, and we've talked about this before, the reason why I like listening to people like Gary Vaynerchuk or millionaires, people who are successful, quote unquote. I listen to them speak. I listen to their mannerisms. I watch their mannerisms. I listen to a number of things as it comes to them because they show us the blueprint. If you want to be a millionaire, you have to act and approach things like a millionaire without losing a sense of who you are. And you take your magnificent being, everything you've learned and your perspective on life and these things, and you take some of their principles and you mimic to a degree their behavior. And that is the way, or that's one of the ways that you can, be very successful. And so the thing I like about this book right now in this section is Tim Grover is talking about Tim Grover talks about, when you're a cleaner, so what it means or what it looks like to be a cleaner, which is the Michael Jordan, which is the Kobe Bryant, which is the Dwayne Wade. You get into the zone, shut out everything else, and control the uncontrollable. A cooler gets everyone cranked up and emotional before the game. A cooler is good. A closer gets himself cranked up and emotional before the game. A cleaner never gets cranked up or emotional. He stays cool and calm and saves it all for the game. So, quiet, alone, always alone, even in a crowd, even when you're surrounded by an entire arena of fans screaming your name, alone in your head, alone with that buzz no one but you can feel. Cleaner. Somebody is talking to you, but you don't hear and don't want to. Later tonight, someone, media, colleague, family, will say you're a jerk, rude, uncommunicative. They don't get it, and you don't care. In your own little world, they say, yes, exactly, get out, leave me alone, you're in the zone. Cleaner. You know others around you are emotional, but they feel scared or jealous or excited, or they're too clueless to understand what's happening. But you feel only readiness, no emotion, because in the zone, the only sensation is anger, a quiet, icy anger simmering under your skin. Never rage, never out of control. Silent, like a storm that moves in slow and dark, its violence unseen until it hits and can't be measured until it moves on. That's the impact of a cleaner in the zone. Everything you feel, all your energy, it's right under the surface. No ripples, no waves. No one can see what's coming. Leave the drama and chaos to others. That's not you. You're saving it all for what's ahead, because once you step in the zone, that's it. You own time. Excuse me. That's what it means to be a cleaner. That's the feeling that you get for being a cleaner. Now, Tim talks about agitating or pushing buttons is how he says it, but I'm reading it. He's saying agitates. When he's working with a professional, he will figure out what pisses people off, and then in a nice, in a more clear and succinct way, he will figure out what pisses people off, and then he will push people to the max. That is one of his strategies to helping unlock the beast or the dark side within, because Tim talks about us going into relentless mode or into the zone as being our dark side being triggered. Once our dark side is triggered, then we get into a place of just relentless, unstoppable energy. Now, anyone who has experienced the awesome power of the zone will tell you it's deeply calm. It's not relaxing or peaceful. This isn't yoga. That made me laugh when I was reading earlier. But intensely focused. And once you're there, you have no fear, no worry, no emotion. You do what you came to do, and nothing can touch you. But what takes you to that elusive space where you're fearless and powerful, where you can completely trust yourself to just let go? How do you find the perfect internal silence that people talk about but can't ever really describe? One thing I know for sure is that we all have trigger that puts us in the zone. Something that ignites our competitive intensity, laser focus, and relentless craving to attack and conquer. It's different in every individual, and no one can tell you how to get there. Unless we're talking about a different zone, I'm sorry to say, the way that you get into the zone is you have to have an intense, burning desire to win. I don't need to be pissed off or upset to take over a country or the world. Period. I don't have to be. You don't have to be. We don't have to necessarily be pushed into a way of fire intensity to get us going in. I wake up every morning, period, and I get to work. And so does everybody else who jumps on the journey to greatness. So that statement right there, and that's one perspective. That's one way to look at it. But the way that you get balanced, the way that you get focused is by being consistent with yourself. When you're consistent, honest, and take responsibility for who you are and how you're showing up in the world, that's how you get laser focused. That's how you ignite the burning desire. Because when your butt doesn't want to get out of that bed, and it feels so much nicer to be under the warm blankets rather than being up and sitting up, getting your book, going in and getting active, getting motion, going into the kitchen and grabbing your glass of water. When you feel like you don't want to do that, you have to have something inside of you, because if you don't, you're going to stay in the bed. You're going to stay in the bed. And a lot of that focus is derived from a place of mental focus. You got to be mentally focused. So if you're doing things, or excuse me, if I find myself doing things that are distracting me, like drinking at night, like late at night, going out to the club, going out and kicking it, you know, that's stuff that's not going to allow me to be mentally focused so that I can get up and do my business. So I have to do a whole lifestyle change. And during this lifestyle change, I have one goal in mind. And when we're talking about, you know, development and personal growth, I am the greatest of all time, period. And so is everybody else on the other side of that camera. Whether you realize it or not, you are the greatest of all time. So these 365, pardon me, these 365 days are going to be the days where we step into our highest greatness. But see, the beautiful thing about this book is it's telling us and teaching us, because we're going to go off the breadth of this book. Even when we get to 365, there's going to be another level to be even better. And so constantly, we're reshaping our realities. Constantly, we're going to be building and restructuring our strategy to now take everything we learned in 365 days through all 12 books that we will have read by the end of the session, by the end of the 365 days, the first part of our journey. And we're going to elevate and figure out a way to make that this growing experience a little bit more quick. And we're going to figure out without rushing it, without being impatient, right? So being in the zone is really being deeply calm. Like I said before, sometimes it feels like you're alone, because you are alone, kinda. You know, there's no worse feeling of being invited somewhere and then you're like, oh man, I can't do it. I got to get some rest. You know, you feel like you're giving up on people at times. You know, it feels like, you know, you're missing out. But at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing. There are times to celebrate and there are times to get to business. The cool thing about this journey to greatness is that we set out to do what we have to do for 365 days. It started at 10. It started at a month, then a few months, I think it was. And then we said, screw it. Let's go for an entire year. We're almost at 6 months. I can tell you my life has changed dramatically. Crazy. Excuse me. Magical. But when you're in the zone right now for these 365, I'm in the zone. I've been in the zone. And if I crack the code, or if I get out of the zone, the book says, or it mentions, it's hard to get back into the zone. So that's why we don't celebrate. So the other day I was like, oh, well, no, there is no celebration. Yeah, we're going to, you know, once we hit our goals for the end of the year, hell yeah, I'm going to go take a trip to Florida and just hang out and be sitting on the beach. When we hit our goals, of course, we're going to go to Hawaii. When we hit our goals, of course, we might take an international trip for a week. Of course, we'll go out and make these moves. That's not a problem. It can happen at any point in time. Any of us can do it. That's an easy goal to hit. But the thing is when we're in the zone, when you're in the zone, you might get that, or excuse me, I sometimes get that feeling where it's like, it's a feeling where it's like you're alone and you love it. You love it because everybody else is doing their thing and they're hanging out and they're just doing their thing. They're kicking it and it's great. But when you're in the zone, like none of that stuff matters. The only thing that matters is that we get through this 365 days, and along the way, the community that we build is going to be monumental. Along the way, the goals and the heights and the achievements that we are going to, that when we get to the end of that 365 rope and we turn around and we look, we're like, dang, we put in work. That's the feeling that I'm looking to achieve. That's the feeling that I can't wait to come. And when that feeling, and when we get to that point, and we talk about vacations and celebrating, it's going to be big. But it's going to be big because we're allowed to do big now. We've earned, that right, that privilege. And wow, I'm sorry, I just went on a tangent, but that's what it feels like to be in the zone for me. And I tell you that because your zone might be a little bit different, and that's totally cool. But it's just it's a gentle check-in to say, hey, that's okay. Yes, we only do live once, and yes, we have to be easy on ourselves, right? At the same time, it's like, I don't want to retire when I'm 60. Straight up. I don't want to retire when I'm 50. I want to retire, or I want to have residual income, right? That supports and sustains my lifestyle to whatever capacity that I've already predetermined in my mind. If I don't want to work, then I don't have to work. Period. Right? So that's what we're building toward. How are we going to get there? That's what it feels like to be in the zone. And that's how you find the peace in the focus to get to where we need to be, rather than having our buttons pushed. You don't have to, again, to get upset means that I'm operating from my lowest chakra. To be angry means that I'm operating from my lowest chakra. If I get upset or if I get frustrated at something, that's something to be hard on myself about, because I don't like being in that space, right? And I have to get myself out of that space, because when you're in that space, right, your lower chakra, now you're starting to push out this negative energy from all around you, and you start responding. Your auto-suggestion filter starts responding negatively. So as soon as that comes, I have to pull myself back out so my auto-suggestion box can start feeding positive responses to everything around me again. So I don't like to be agitated and all that. That's where the balance comes in for me. I have to be balanced on my plane. If somebody's messing with me, or they're feeling, or they're shooting, they're talking some kind of way toward me, that is the true test of patience. That's the true test of maturity. That is the true test of balance for me. Because now I'm like, I really don't like the way you're talking to me, but you know what? The way I'm going to respond to you is going to be in a way that's not antagonizing or not threatening to your pride or anything that you're about. And I'm going to diffuse this situation. Totally different spaces between what being relentless is. Now, on the flip side, if you have to get agitated and you have to be angry, that's okay. Let that be your button pusher. Push yourself to that space and allow that to agitate you. And when it's time for showtime and whatever you do, whether it's waking up in the morning and going to work and conquering your day, or leading your employees, or being an employee and a follower from behind, and being a follower leader from behind and helping encourage people along the way, if that's what it is that you do, then you go ahead and you do that. You go ahead and you own that. You be the greatest of all time at doing that. If you have aspirations to do other things, then have aspirations to do them, achieve them, and find the zone and push those buttons of anger or passion and fury that you have inside of you. Because I know what that feels like, to be stepped on by people who are really successful, to be spit on by people who, if you watch that video I posted a year ago, to be spit on people who just act like they don't have no time, like they're above being human. I know what that feels like. And that fire is totally different, right? That's like a woo, right? So that's another, I'm not saying that's a bad space to be in terms of remembering and being like, okay, like I'm going to get it. That's that fire, and being like in the fire of love and bliss and all that, right? Like that's the balance that you have between, so there's nothing wrong with tapping into that. Like, I remember when, and this is the reason why I am going to be the best ever to do this, So hopefully that makes sense. But cleaner show emotion if it's the only way to get everyone else where they need to be, but never because the cleaner has lost control of his feelings. I like that. A cleaner is never going to stand up in front waving the towel. He's down at the end, alone, focused and unemotional. At a critical moment when everyone gets too pumped up and overheated, he's the guy telling everyone else to keep it cool. No matter what's happening during a game, Michael Jordan always looked as if he was having the time of his life out there. When he stepped between those lines, nothing could touch him. Nothing bothered him. That was his zone. Most guys, everything touches them. When things go bad, they look as if they're dying out there. Very true. Michael stayed in the zone 100% of the time. From the moment he left his home or hotel room for the game until the moment he returned late that night. But during the time on the court, he was the real authentic Michael. After the game, before he'd do an interview, he'd go in the trainer's room where no reporters were allowed, get fully dressed, and switch from the authentic Michael who just played the game to the MJ everyone else perceived him to be. Most people can't do that, nor do they want to. At some point, it wipes you out to say so intense, constantly charged, always a loner, always in a place no one can go but you. Eventually, you end up having to exhale, relax, let down that wall of intensity, fall out of the zone. But once you're out of it, it's hard to get back in. Okay. I like the way I interpret this right here is that day when I say I slept for 15 hours. See, this is what's so cool about this live thing, this live community that we're creating. To me, anyway, like we're going through the growing pains together. And it's like there is no book that I've read that has talked about like the journey. But you know what's cool? This right here is the book. These journals right here that are all like getting filled out. This is the book. This is the book that we can write our 365-day journey from. If I told you could wake up for 365 days at 4:30 every morning and you become a millionaire, would you do it? This is going to be one of the tools to describe our story. This is going to be one of the things that we can anchor to, right? Anchors, anyone? Anchor to when we're on stage in the Georgia Dome talking to hundreds of thousands of people and being streamed across the country to millions of people, talking about our story and how to get motivated, how to keep our fire lit, how to find that desire and that deep passion within us to be the greatest of all time at any and everything that we choose to put our minds to. This is going to be one of the anchors right here. And we're writing that story. And that's why we do these activities, right? The conversation, the education, the self-education, the quotes of books, the mentions of books is all right here. Over 2,400, nearly 2,400 pages of read literature, 12 books in a year. To start is not bad. This is the education in addition to everything else we're experiencing that's going to help us describe our stories a lot better, right? Any book that we read. And so going back to my point, when I said we needed a rest, or I needed a rest, and then come to find out some others of us on the journey needed a rest also. The thing here is that we have to find time to exhale. And that's what we did, right? Started a new diet. We noticed that the diet wasn't, well, it was a good diet. It was a fantastic diet, right? But then for me personally, my eating habits started to change. So I had my breakfast. I had my breakfast, which isn't like, super heavy. It wasn't super heavy, like pancakes and toast and, turkey sausage and eggs, cheese, like it wasn't heavy. It was oatmeal and peanut butter. That's and then I would go throughout the day. Now, mind you, If I'm getting up at 9 or 10, this is probably okay. But we're getting up at 4:30. So from 4:30 until 5 p.m., there's one meal. That's not good. There needs to be at least 2 meals in between then, or 3 meals in between then, right? So I went from being on a very balanced diet, which was a good diet, right? Losing weight, transferred over to this other diet that kind of naturally evolved because I was so in the zone. I don't feel my hunger. I don't feel the pain. I don't feel anything. I'm just like, dude, we are on a mission. Well, that's great. However, your body is your temple, and that's a balance that I never want to get out of, right? The whole point of going on the diet is to be more in focus. But when your body responds in a way where it's, you need to eat more food, then it's a different story. It's a different paradigm. You got, okay, hold on. Woo. All right, that was a good first round. Now it's time to rejuvenate, eat, go back to your normal diet, right, that you usually eat. Figure out the diet now and then execute it again. And then start it again, right? Okay, well, now I'm going to do the diet differently. And all of this correction is what makes the journey so cool, because we're doing it and we're like consciously doing it. So it's like our life is not controlling us. I see a difference in changing my body and my energy levels. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's a tremendous awareness for us to have that ability, and then for us to be able to adjust and make those changes so that we can be the best people we can be. We're just constantly sharpening the sword, constantly sharpening our minds, our bodies, everything, so that we can continue to be the greatest of all time. Once you get out of the zone, it's hard to get back into the zone. That's a thought. Knowing and being in. Everyone out there has tremendous power. Everyone out there has the magnificent ability to be the greatest of all time. You all are the greatest of all time, period. There are no competitions. There are no parallels, period. No statement end. It's hard to get back in the zone once you have gotten out of the zone. That's a thought. My personal opinion on that is the reason I don't celebrate is because there's so much more to be done. There's a goal. To fall short of that goal means I fall short of execution for me, right? 365, I got to get through 365. That's what I said I'm going to do. So now I'm going to show myself that that's what you're going to do. If I went on a 1-month vacation, can I guarantee I'll be up at 4:30 wherever I am in the world? Yeah, because I do it even when I travel out of town. So, but it's different, you see, because it's becoming a lifestyle, right? But it's like, pause. The journey to greatness is a lifestyle. We become ultimately powerful. We become ultimately more powerful when we can turn it on and turn it off. That's the difference. This book talks specifically about being in control. So for us to be in control, we have to have enough balance and enough self-awareness and self-intuitiveness to say, okay, it's time to turn it on. It is time to turn it on. Gary Vaynerchuk, and this is my last point, and we're out of here. We can go enjoy our mornings more. Gary Vaynerchuk said, I was off the map. If you go back, and you guys know who Gary V is, Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a marketing guy. Pause. Let me pull that statement back. He's an exceptional public speaker who has a multi-million-dollar company that he grew from the ground up. And he started his YouTube videos like way back 10 some years ago. And he started with wine, built one of the largest e-commerce wine websites on the internet. So he's not just he's actually an incredible person. But he talks about in his journey, he went off the radar for like a couple years, and then he came back. Went off the radar for a couple years and came back. And that's that exhale. You know, exhale. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your youth. Enjoy your et cetera, et cetera. So, love you guys. Thank you for joining me. Day 173 at 365 with David McDonald, the GOAT. And happy Saturday. Thank you to everybody who jumped on the messenger board. Who's that? Steven, right? Is that Steven? Hi, David. Sure. Oh, okay. Awesome. I can't this morning for the first time express the gratefulness. Wow. Thank you. I feel honored. Oh, wow. I feel honored. Thank you. Thank you, Steven. To everybody else who jumped on that messenger board, good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. I'll go through and read the comments here and really see, read through them and respond to them here after the session during my morning coffee routine. And thank you to everybody for being the greatest of all time, being here with me on Saturday at 5 a.m. It's early and it's abnormal and it's weird and it's awesome. So thank you for being my anchors and thank you for being my accountability partners. I love you guys tremendously. Continue to find balance. Make today the best day of your life, and I'll see you tomorrow at 5 a.m. Peace.